Hi, welcome to this lesson. My name is Kate, and in this video I'll show you how to create this effect. I love it so much just because you can use it for literally any niche. Whether you want to showcase your services, your products, your favorite travel destinations, your restaurants, how your day in life looks like in terms of schedule, you want to show your favorite quotes, think really anything that has any visual to it, like a photo or video or text. So without further ado, let's get into it. First of all, record a video of yourself making a swiping motion. Then pretend as you tap and select something, and then take your object and play with it. You can also keep it simple and just make a swiping motion without the second part, where you hold something, especially if you use text instead of an image. For this, I use cinematic mode on my phone. Two things that I recommend doing to get the best result in cinematic mode. First, decrease the blurriness of the background so it looks more natural, like a mirrorless or DSLR camera. So on top right corner, tap on F and move the slider to about 5. You can also do this step after filming. And lastly, decrease the exposure a bit, as phones naturally overexpose videos and photos. On top left corner, tap on a ruler and decrease it to about -0.3 to about -0.7. On some phones, you would need to swipe up and find plus and minus symbol to do that. I try to always use back camera for this to get the best quality, so I set up a tripod, do a test shot, review it, make changes if needed, do another test, and then repeat until I'm satisfied. It does take a little bit more time, but the result is worth it. After filming in cinematic mode, I make sure that the focus is right. So I go to Edit and tap on the parts of the video I want to be in focus. In this case, I want my face to be in focus, so I tap on it and hold until you see the square appear. And then I want it to switch to the can, so I find a spot where I want it to happen and tap and hold on the can. If you see below, the keyframes are created on a timeline. So if you play it, the focus switches automatically. This is called focus pulling, and it is used in movies all the time. Well done, now you know how to do it in seconds. Then let's get the images ready. You can either find the images you want without background in PNG format, or like me, take images of your products. Next, let's open CapCut. Start a new project and import the video. Then let's cut out the parts that you don't need. I'm doing it using a tool called Split. It literally just cuts a video in 2 parts, and you can go ahead and delete the part you don't need. Now I'm left with something like this. Next, let's import the images. If you already don't have a background or you want to use images with a background, skip this step. Okay, there are 2 ways to get rid of background. First one, if you have a pro subscription in CapCut, meaning that you pay for it, import your picture, go to Cutout, Customize Cutout, Quick Brush, and roughly paint over the object. Press on the tick mark, and that's it. The background is gone. If you don't have a pro version, don't worry, you can do it for free as well. There are hundreds of websites and apps that can do it. I love using the Remove BG website. It is really self-explanatory. You just upload the image and let it do the magic and then save it to the gallery. Now do it for the rest of the images so you have them ready in your gallery. They would appear as they have black background, but in reality it's transparent. Now go back to CapCut and let's import the first image into a project. Go to Overlay, then choose Photos and hit Add. With my 2 fingers, I'm going to make it smaller, dragging my fingers inwards, the same way as you would zoom in on a photo. And then reposition your objects where you want it to be. The idea of my video was to make it seem as the can is appearing from the phone, and then I would swipe and the other one would appear. We would do it using keyframes. Keyframes are used to mark specific points in time where you want the effect to begin or to end. It's like a pin of a certain setting. I know it can sound confusing, so let me show you. Let's first animate the part where the can is appearing. I like to start with the end point, so where the object already appeared. I'm just gonna adjust it to where I want it to be. And then find the keyframe button. It looks like a little diamond. You see it appeared on a timeline. That means that we defined the position and the size of the can at this particular moment of the video. Now let's go to the beginning of the video where I want it to start appearing and make the can super small and move it as close to the phone as possible. You see, the new keyframe is created automatically. You only need to actually press on a keyframe button for the first one, and anytime you make any changes, the keyframe would appear automatically after the first one is created. So now it looks like this. I then want to make the appearance a bit smoother so that it fades out at the beginning. So go to the first keyframe we created, find opacity and move the slider to 0. Then go to the spot with the second keyframe, opacity, and move the slider to 100. Now it looks better. Then go further down the timeline, find the spot where you want the object to start moving. In my case, when I start the swiping motion, tap on a keyframe and pin its current position. Then move down the timeline again to find the spot where the swiping movement stops and move your object to the right, so it's not visible anymore. I also make it slightly smaller, so while moving to the right, it becomes smaller. Now it looks like this. So here's what we have so far. If you want to take it a step further, you can make the appearance smoother by using a graph. So go to the spot where the second keyframe is, graph symbol, and then select one of the presets. I personally like using ease out 1. So if you watch closely, the object appears and then slows down at the end. You can do the same for the fourth keyframe as well. So import the second object using overlay. The only difference in the animation would be timing. I want them to be moving at the same time. So when I do the swiping motion, the first can moves to the right from the middle, and the second one starts moving from the left into the middle. So first make the can the same size as the first one and move it to the middle. Then I find the spot in the video where the first can disappears on the right, and I tap on the keyframe to pin its position in the middle. I then find the spot where the first can just starts to move when I swipe and make the second can smaller and move it to the left out of the frame. Okay, so far so good. This is how it looks like. Now for the rest of the objects. Do exactly the same thing for the third and for the fourth one. Import them using overlay and animate using keyframes. If your objects are placed on the same layer, just tap on it, hold them, and move it down so it's placed in the new layer. Okay, now for the last object. You don't need to move it to the very right since we're grabbing it. You can just make it the same length as the main clip, and then when a cut happens, you're already holding the object. To spice it up, I wanted to add a little bit of movement when the can is floating. So find the spot somewhere in between the second and the third keyframe and move it down slightly. The new keyframe would be created automatically. So it looks something like this. Just go ahead and do the rest for the rest of the objects. Next, you can leave the last object to cut off at the end of the clip. Or you can make the transition a bit less noticeable by doing the following. Make the object layer a little bit longer so it slightly overlaps on the second shot where you're holding the object. Now find the spot where the cut happens, tap on the object, go to opacity and toggle it a little bit and leave it at 100. This would be a trigger to create a new keyframe. Then go to the end of the object layer, make it smaller and move it to the spot where the actual can in hand is and try to match it. Then go to opacity and decrease it to 50 to 70%. The new keyframe is now created and it looks something like this. Everything is already looking very good. You can stop right there, but I want to put a couple of cherries on top, such as video effects and sound effects. Tap somewhere on a project so that no layers are selected, go to Effects, Video Effects, type Blur and select Motion Blur. You will see the purple layer appear. Tap on it, go to Object and select Overlay so that the main video layer is normal and the object is blurred. And for that you can use keyframes as well. I want the blur happen when the object is moving and stop when it stops moving. And we can do it using keyframes as well. So, find the spot in the video in the beginning where the can is hidden, go to Adjust and increase the intensity, and keep the horizontal setting at about 60. Then tap on a keyframe to pin it. Now, find the spot where the can stops moving in the middle, tap on Adjust, decrease the intensity to 0 and decrease horizontal setting to 50. Then, find the spot where the can starts moving, tap on a keyframe to pin its setting. Then, find the spot somewhere in the middle of its movement, go to Adjust, increase the intensity to 100 and horizontal setting to around 60. Do the same thing for the other 3 layers with objects. You can go ahead and select Blur Effect from the gallery again, or just copy the effect layer and delete the keyframes we created. To do that, find the spot where the keyframe is and tap on a keyframe, little diamond with a minus. Then just do exactly the same thing as we did before. I then wanted the can to light up once being selected. You know how they do it in video games. To do that, go again to the effects, video effects, find backlit focus, tap on tick, and go to the objects and select the can. I then adjusted its length from both sides so that the can lights up when I point at it. To do that, tap and hold on one of the sides and drag them to the left or right. Here's what we have so far. Now I'll take it to the next level by adding sound effects. So go to Audio, Effects, Phone Typing, then move it to the beginning of the video and adjust it to the length you want, so it matches whatever is happening in the video. You can do it by splitting and deleting the parts you don't need. Then add a whoosh sound effect to each swipe happening. When they are added, move each of them to a separate layer and listen to it a couple of times and adjust it to whatever is happening, so the action matches the sound. If needed, adjust its volume so it's not as loud and distracting, but in my case, it was pretty good. And lastly, add a click sound for the last part. And the very last optional step, I added a zoom in for the whole video to make the video even more dynamic. So, export the video that we just created, then import it to the new project. Put a keyframe at the beginning of the video, then go to the end and zoom in with 2 fingers a little bit. The new keyframe will be created automatically. And that's it. Here's a final result. Again, you can also do it with text, just add text instead of images, or you can do text and images. And you can also make it simpler without making it appear from the phone and transitioning into your hand, and just create a simple swiping transition. And this is it. Well done. Congratulations. This tutorial was actually pretty advanced one. We used keyframes and animations and things like that. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or need more clarification, please send me a DM on Instagram or an email at kate@katelic.com. And I would love to see your result. Please tag me if you do share it on Instagram. I will be reposting your videos, and just, let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.